Well, hello, my history fans out there. Welcome to the History Shelf. I am your host, Peg. I hope you guys like military history. For those of you tuning in, I'm going to put it in the video title. Not everyone is, keen on military history, but a lot of you are. And I'm here to share a bunch of new releases from Casemate, our good friends at Casemate, who carry a lot of different imprints, and I get to taste a little bit of everything that they're putting out, which is a huge privilege, and I'm just pleased as punch to be able to bring you some military history every now and again and show you what's out there. So we've got quite a stack, and I might have to do a part 2 next week because there's a lot here. What's going on here in the background? As you can see, moving boxes. I am in the process of packing. We'll be moving in less than 3 weeks. These books I need to video for you so I can show you what's out there, what's newly on the market, and then I need to box them to get them to the new location. So kind of now in a crunch now to make my videos and get them done before everything is basically sealed up and in transit. And before I lose track of where I put everything. But no, Martina has a fantastic ordering system. She has figured out a way for us to mark boxes, to know we've taken pictures of every bookcase. We're numbering them, and we even have stickers for the movers to know which room to put these boxes in. So fingers crossed that this is going to be a fairly seamless, painless move with the books. As far as trying to find things again, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, moving is an adventure, and we're very excited. I mean, I'm just so excited. Tickled pink, as the saying goes. All right, let's start with World War I, shall we? We're going to move around in time with these books because it's just a wonderful selection. It's all over the place, but I love it. First book is a pen and sword imprint, and this is The Great War in the Argonne Forest, French and American Battles, 1914 to 1918, by Richard Mary. Now, as many of you might know, that World War I is one of my passions. I came to World War I way before I even got interested in World War II. In fact, how old am I now? Let's just say a long time ago. I wasn't even really interested in World War II because I thought it was too recent. If that tells you anything. I've since changed my opinion as the years go by, obviously. But World War I was my first love. And it eventually led into my interest in World War II. But anyway, so The Great War in the Argonne Forest. So tickled to get this. I might not be able to read everything because this video could be super long, but I'll do my best. Let's see. The Annals of the First World War record. Record. It's a verb, not a noun in that usage. The Annals of the First World War record the Argonne Forest as the epicenter of the famous Meuse-Argonne Offensive of 1918, the largest American operation launched against the Germans during the conflict. During 1914 and 15, though, amidst the dense forest, French and Italian soldiers withstood the German assaults. All sides suffered horrendous casualties, as each sought to break through the lines. The epic four-year campaign is the subject of Richard Mary's vividly written account. His great-uncle arrived there in September 1914 and started corresponding with his family. Richard traces the stories of some of the men and women who became embroiled in the epic forest struggle, which culminated in the cold, gas-filled autumnal mist of 1918, when the New Yorkers of the 77th Liberty Division fought there. One of their number, Charles Whittlesey, and his lost battalion held out against insurmountable odds. Sergeant Alvin York, the Tennessee backwoodsman and pacifist, overcame his religious convictions and wrote himself into American military history. The story does not end there. The author describes the aftermath of war in the area, the lethal outbreak of Spanish flu, the reburial of the dead, the rebuilding of the villages, and the replanting of the forest before the Germans invaded again in 1940. So fabulous. Oh, this is going to be very good. I can't wait to tuck into this. Great new release. Now, there's another one. It looks like almost like it's a similar type of design, but this one's very interesting. Also World War I related, but this is called Over the Top: Alternate Histories of the First World War, edited by Peter Suras and Spencer Jones. So, alternate histories. What could that possibly be about? Let's take a look. Falkenhayn was a calculating man, not given to hyperbole, but his headquarters was thick with the euphoria of victory on the evening of October 31st, 1914. He raised a toast in honor of the Kaiser and delivered a simple assessment of the day to his monarch. Your Majesty, the English army has been destroyed. Now, this was written all in italics, so guessing that's the alternate version. Perhaps more so than any other conflict, the First World War begs the question, what if? In this unique collection, leading military historians examine that very question through 10 enthralling alternate scenarios. This will be a fun read. Within these pages, you will find a vast clash of empires as Germany and Russia decide the fate of Europe in 1914, an imaginative British scheme to attack the Ottoman Empire from land and sea in 1915, a desperate battle for survival as French and American forces fight side by side at Verdun in 1916, a reimagined 1917 where the tank truly comes of age, and much more besides. Based on meticulous research and written with pace and verve, I love that word, verve, this will be of great interest to historians and general readers alike. How fun is this? I just love this stuff. I'm a weirdo. I don't know why. I just dig this. I dig it. I don't believe in reincarnation, but I tell you what, another life. I had a handlebar mustache or something. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what side I would have been on, but hey, because you just never know, right? And this is World War I, mind you. I'm not talking about World War II. Okay, I know what side I would have been on for that. But anyway, sorry, I just showed you that picture already. This is going to be fun. Kitchener of Arabia. Oh, this is going to be good. You know, Kitchener died so early on that you have to wonder what would have been. So I think they're going to tackle that one as well. All right, so we've got two very interesting books on World War I. I'm trying to see if I have another one that I can lump together. Well, this is somewhat related because we're talking about two of the main German generals of World War I, but then it ties into World War II. So this is hardcover. The other two are soft covers. This is another book by Pen and Sword, brand new. And this is Hindenburg, Ludendorff, and Hitler, Germany's Generals and the Rise of the Nazis, by Alexander Clifford. Oh, wow. Okay. It's a lot to read here. We're at 8 minutes, but I'll try. They are two of 20th century history's most significant figures, yet today they are largely forgotten. We're talking about Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff, Germany's first World War leaders. Although defeat in 1918 brought an end to their silent dictatorship, both generals played a key role in the turbulent politics of the Weimar Republic and the rise of the Nazis. Alexander Clifford, in this perceptive reassessment of their political careers, questions the popular image of these generals in the English-speaking world as honorable, good Germans. For they were intensely political men whose ideas and actions shaped the new Germany and ultimately led to Hitler's dictatorship. Their poisonous wartime legacy was the infamous stab in the back myth. Very true. According to the generals, the true cause of the disastrous defeat in World War I was the betrayal of the army by politicians, leftists, and Jews on the home front. This toxic conspiracy theory polluted Weimar politics and has been labeled the beginning of the twisted road to Auschwitz. Hindenburg and Ludendorff's political fortunes after the war were markedly different. Ludendorff inhabited the far-right fringes and engaged in plots, assassinations, and conspiracies, playing a leading role in failed uprisings such as Hitler's 1923 beer hall putsch. Meanwhile, Hindenburg was a vastly more successful politician, winning 2 presidential elections and serving as head of state for 9 years. Arguably, he bore even more responsibility for the destruction of democracy because he, and the nationalist right he led, sought through Hitler to remold the Weimar system towards authoritarianism. So, this is more of a political history. There's military history involved, but this one is going to be heavy on the politics, and I'm really looking forward to that. This will be I'm hoping it's going to be a fantastic read. Looking at the sources, just briefly, I mean, he's got several appendices here. This looks very well researched. Oh, wow. Bibliography is outstanding. Woo! Got some more ideas for some reading here. Can't go wrong. This is good stuff. Considering the topic. But, reading more about Hindenburg and Ludendorff's, their role as far as helping Hitler to come to power. A lot of people forget that they did play a role. I mean, everything kind of domino effect, but I like that they hold Hindenburg to more of account than Ludendorff, because Ludendorff was kind of just a little bit of a nut, kind of off on the way off in the fringe, and here's Hindenburg, head of state for 9 years, and what's his excuse? You know what I'm saying? So, looking forward to this. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, we'll come back to World War II, because this next book is just damn depressing and dark, but important. Let's skip around. Let's go around in time. And we're going to go to the Crimean War. Okay, and we're going to talk about, not the charge of the Light Brigade. No. We're here to talk about the charge of the Heavy Brigade. Scarlet's 300 in the Crimea by M.J. Trow. Look at that. Another pen and sword, beautiful edition. So everyone has heard, obviously, right? The famous poem, Glory to Each and to All, and the charge that they made, Glory to all 300 and all the brigade. Well, everyone has heard of the charge of the Light Brigade, a suicidal cavalry attack caused by confused orders, which somehow sums up the Crimean War, which was from 1854 to 1856. Far less well known is what happened an hour earlier, when General Scarlet's Heavy Brigade charged a Russian army at least 3 times its size. That fight of heroes, to use the phrase of William Russell, the world's first war correspondent, was a brilliant success, whereas the Light Brigade's action resulted in huge casualties and achieved nothing. This is the first book by a military historian to study the men of the Heavy Brigade, from James Scarlet, who led it, to the enlisted men who had joined for the Queen's shilling and a new life away from the hard grind of Victorian poverty. It charts the perils of traveling by sea, in cramped conditions with horses panicking in rough seas. It tells the story through the men who were there of the charge itself, where it was for every man for himself, and survival was down to the random luck of shot and shell. It looks too at the women of the Crimea, the wives who accompanied their menfolk. Best known were Florence Nightingale, the Lady with the Lamp, and Mary Seacole, the Creole woman who was doctress and mother to the men. But there were others, like Fanny Duberly, who wrote a graphic journal, and Mrs. Rogers, who dutifully cooked and cleaned for the men of her husband's regiment, the 4th Dragoon Guards. All right. And you know what? So this is news to me, because I never knew about the Heavy Brigade. So I'm very pleased to be introduced to it here. Oh, it's fascinating stuff right here, guys. I'm telling you. I'm just completely amazed by the quality of these books. The breadth and depth of what Casemate offers, and Pen and Sword in particular, and they consistently put out. It's just, if you are a military history fan, you cannot go wrong with these. There's something for everybody. of if you're interested in only a particular area of military history, they've got something for it. Let's see here. What do we have next? Oh, this is so beautiful. Woo, this is a Casemate production. Beautiful, more of a coffee table book. Ancient Greeks at War. Warfare in the Classical World from, I can say that word, world. Warfare in the Classical World from Agamemnon to Alexander by Simon Elliott. Look at that cover. Wasn't this from the movie? It kind of looks like it's from 300, but just a big, beautiful book. I don't think I need to read too much here. It's just a lavishly illustrated tour de force, is what they say, covering every aspect of warfare in the ancient Greek world, from the beginnings of Greek civilization through to its assimilation into the expanding world of Rome. So let's just get to some pictures for you guys, huh? I gotta move this microphone out the way. Beautiful photographs. Just pictures of ruins, of cities. I could get lost in this stuff. Wow, talk about big honking maps. Don't need my glasses for those. The Age of Alexander, that's chapter 4. But, unique artwork. Very much like the artwork that is in my Ancient Warfare magazine that I subscribe to. It's a magazine from the Netherlands that I've been subscribing to for years and years now. Photographs. So, just a wonderful book to add to my collection of ancient history. I think in one of my last book hauls I showed you I had a Getty coffee table-sized book for the illustrated history of ancient Greece. And this is all about Greeks at war. So, just another fantastic edition that I can't wait to show off in the new house. You know what I'm saying? Where am I at with time? Okay, we're going to have to hurry. Hurry? Since when have I ever hurried my videos along, right? Okay. Let's jump around. I would like to talk about Casemate's new fiction line. And it is one of the ideas that I have for my channel as I move to my new location. I have new ideas for the channel. And this is one of them. Where I'm going to be kind of going into reading my library of military fiction, but military historical fiction. So, and these books will play a big part of that. But I feel like there's different categories of historical fiction. If I were to do a book talking about historical fiction, you have no idea really what the flavor is, So I think what I'm going to do is kind of bracket them down into different categories, right? And so for military fiction, some of these new fiction books from Casemate are going to figure prominently. So I'll have several to choose from to start highlighting in those standalone videos. So, but the first one I got here is The Spandau Complication by Bob Orkind. And they all have these very distinct covers. Just really interesting artwork. I love that. There you go. So, for the Spandau Complication, let me read this to you. Hot on the heels of a dressing down by the U.S. Commander Berlin, U.S. Army Major Harry Holbrook receives an unexpected luncheon invitation from the Soviet commandant of Spandau Prison, where the last 3 remaining Nazi war criminals are incarcerated. There, he receives a cryptic offer to attend a secret meeting and is soon embroiled in facilitating the defection of a Soviet Air Force's pilot and his warplane. Following this success, he is alerted that the Red Army faction will attempt to assassinate West Berlin Mayor Willy Brandt and the U.S. commander at the opening of the 5th annual German-American Volksfest, enabling him to foil the plot. Coming to trust his contact, Holbrook knows he should act when he is tipped off that a Mossad operative will attempt to assassinate 2 of the 3 Spandau prisoners upon their release from the prison. And as we know, Albert Speer, was one of the incarcerated at Spandau. In fact, I have his large Spandau diaries, I believe. So, set in the mid-1960s, as President Lyndon B. Johnson sought to avoid confrontations with the Soviet Union while increasing America's commitment to the Vietnam War, this debut novel deftly chronicles a series of incidents in divided Berlin that could easily have provoked nuclear war. That is fantastic. A debut novel. This might have to be my first one. I like supporting new writers. Sure enough, this was written in 2021. Bob Orkind, a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel of Infantry, and served on the staff of the U.S. Commander Berlin at the height of the Cold War. The man knows of what he speaks and writes. There you go. Oh, so that's fantastic. So, okay. Bump that up to the top of my list for ideas for my standalone videos on historical fiction, and in this case, the category of military fiction. Okay, so the next fiction one that the Casemate has been putting out is called, simply enough, Marine Scouts. Look at that. Look at that moonlight. There's a sniper shining down. Moonlight shining down here. All right. August 1990. 30,000 Iraqi troops invade Kuwait and are in a position to influence nearly half of the world's oil supply. The United Nations condemned the aggression, but it is clear that only military intervention is going to displace Saddam Hussein. Operating behind enemy lines, Captain Joseph Quarry Samuels and the 21 Marines of Scout Platoon, 2nd Tank Battalion, 2nd Marine Division discover a unit not previously identified on any map. Quarry and his scouts are soon engaged in a game of cat and mouse with the 10,000-strong 108th Iraqi Armored Division and discover information that will help plan the liberation of Kuwait. Following one of the greatest one-sided military victories of all time, and long after the vast majority of U.S. troops are sent home, Quarry remains in Kuwait to continue the deadly game with an old nemesis, but this time with a new ally. Okay. This is, I don't know if this is, it doesn't say if it's a debut novel, but written by another retired lieutenant. This is a lieutenant colonel of Marines, and it looks like it came out in 2021. Yes, I love it. Love supporting our military and the writers in our military now. I love it. Beat your swords into plows, but not plows, pens. Right? Trade in your sword for the pen. It's mightier than the sword, right? Okay, here we go. All right, guys, I'm trying to make room. All right, so we're 23 minutes in, and I have covered. That's not too bad. I've covered 7 books. Okay. Let me just get my thoughts together here real quick. Okay, so these are 2 books where they're part of a series called Century of the Soldier. And it covers 1618 to 1721. I think I have shown one of these books before. I have another one that was sent to me that's in this series, and I'm really excited because they are beautiful, glossy-paged books, almost like a textbook. Well sourced, and yes, it says right here, the Century of the Soldier series covers the period of military history circa 1618 to 1721, the, quote, golden era of pike and shot warfare. This time frame has been seen by many historians as a period of not only great social change, but of fundamental developments within military matters. This is the period of the military revolution, the development of standing armies, the widespread introduction of black powder weapons, and a greater professionalism within the culture of military personnel. This series examines the period in a greater degree of detail than has hitherto been attempted and has a very wide brief with the intention of covering all aspects of the period, from the battles, campaigns, logistics, and tactics, to the personalities, armies, uniforms, and equipment. So this is the identifying mark right here. It's on all these books. Okay. So this is number 67. I have to go find. I'm getting all giddy. I love when I have like a little series. This is the Anglo-Spanish War, 1655 to 1660, Volume 1, The War in the West Indies, by Paul Sutton. Look at that cover. Is this who I think it is? Yes, it is Oliver Cromwell. Hello. I'm getting better at that. I want to read a really good biography on Oliver Cromwell. I need to hide it so Martine doesn't see that I'm reading it. The Irish detest him, and I understand why. I don't know a lot about that history, and I want to know more about, Cromwell and what he did, to Ireland, which was horrible from what she told me. Well, I know that he, just oppressed them and invaded them and just, horrible stuff. But so Anglo-Spanish War, though, 1655 to 1660. Okay. Well, okay, the next one is another different number. But anyway, so I have this one. These are glossy pages, as you can see. They're very shiny. Beautiful. They're like a textbook, right? Wide pages, footnoted at the bottom. There are, thank you, here we go. Get maps, illustrations. Beautiful books. And these are put up by Helion and Company. Okay, so this is the imprint right here. Sorry, I want to be exact. I want to give credit where credit's due here. Okay, in 1655, Oliver Cromwell, England's Lord Protector, sent a fleet to attack and seize Spanish possessions in South America. The English were flexing their muscles on the international stage and, for political, religious, and commercial reasons, chose to attack a weakened Spain and the West Indies, believing it a soft target. In late 1654, possibly the largest military force to date ever to leave English shores set sail from Portsmouth under the command of General Robert Venables and Admiral William Penn. This is the first of 2 volumes, I'm going to have to get the second one, about the English attack on the Spanish West Indies. This volume extensively analyzes the reasons for the English attack, its preparations and plans, and the composition of their army and navy. It describes first the voyage to the West Indies and the expedition's delay in Barbados, and then the attack on Hispaniola, including the many reasons for its dramatic failure. The book then describes the occupation of Jamaica, the beginnings of the Spanish resistance, as well as initial English naval operations in the Caribbean in 1655. The English forces were quickly abandoned by their 2 commanders and left to fend for themselves, facing rampant disease, near starvation, and an undefeated enemy. The second volume, okay, it's not out yet. The second volume will continue the story from late 1655 up to the establishment of English civilian government in Jamaica in 1662. This work draws upon extensive primary source material, very important, from England and Spain, including a copious quantity of letters and narratives of soldiers and sailors present from both sides. It is the first detailed account of this important campaign from a military perspective, one that laid the foundations for the state-sponsored expansion of the English Empire. Okay, so there you have it. The first of a projected 2 volumes. I look forward to getting the second one. Yes. You know what? It's I want to bump this up to the top of my review and reading list, because when I know that I have to pack up books to move, even though I'm going to be unpacking them, I'm just like, no, I keep it near me. It'll be okay. I'm going to mark these boxes. I'm going to know these are new, TBR, to be reviewed, and I'll get them back out again. It's just that little bit of anxiety. My books. Okay, so the next one I was privy to that Casemate sent, also in this series, Century of the Soldier. Now, this is part of, I guess, one that is already, this is a volume 4. So I don't have the others. I'm sure I can get them, but let me understand this a little bit more. There were a lot of wars in the 17th century, okay? A lot of them don't make a lot of sense to me, but here we go. So this is number 76. The other one was number 67. This is Wars and Soldiers in the Early Reign of Louis XIV, Volume 4, The Armies of Spain, 1659 to 1688, by Bruno Mugnai. So there's a cover. Okay. Again, very much built like a nice glossy textbook. Look at, oh, beautiful. Oh, and Evian does great work as well. These are just beautiful. Scholar's dream, I tell you what. It says here, it has been a commonly held historical belief that in the second half of the 17th century, the Spanish army suffered such catastrophic defeats that it effectively brought about the collapse of the state as a major player on the European stage. The wars fought out in Catalonia, Franche-Comté, Flanders, and Italy resulted in a series of substantial defeats for Spain. The forces of Louis XIV carried all before them. Spain's ability to fend off the French monarch's assaults was not eased by the fact that at the same time, Spain had faced the Portuguese in the Iberian Peninsula, the English in the Caribbean, which is what this covers. Okay, we got that. I made that connection. The Algerians in Melilla, as well as further insidious French assaults in southern Italy and in the colonies. In this regard, it would be more correct to consider this age as a period of resilience rather than of military defeat. Looking on the bright side. The history, organization, uniforms, and equipments of the Spanish armies of this era are described for the first time in a single book based on archival sources and featuring unpublished images. Appendices include orders of battle and a record of tercios, trozos, and regiments of the Spanish armies of the period. Fascinating. All about the Spanish and how they were put together militarily during this time. I love it. These are beautiful books. Wonder if my friend Ben, the history fella, Ben, you got any of these from Evian? They're a UK company. I know that you frequently get a hookup from them. I wonder if you've had a chance to dip into any of these. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so here we go. 32 minutes. I've got 3 more books, and then I'm going to save the next Casemate video for next week. Okay, guys? Oh, God, I don't want to end on Hitler. So, so let's get through a couple more. Listen, this just sounded like an interesting adventure. And it's not necessarily about Hitler, but it's about his bunker. All right, so here we go. I'm glad I'm making this without Martina in the room. She's always teasing me about the amount of, like, World War II, but mostly she just sees books that might have Hitler on it, and it's just like, look, it's history. I'm not, I understand, and I do keep them down to a minimum because it is such a depressing topic, but it's history, and I'm interested. What can I say? All right, this is Escaping Hitler's Bunker, the fate of the Third Reich's leaders. As you can see, it's not about him escaping, it's about the other guys in the bunker, right? And then this is by this name at the bottom that you could help me pronounce. Georges Debarge. I'm just going to say Debarge. It's a great band in the 80s, but no. It's by this person right here, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy your work, sir. Or ma'am. I'm looking forward to it. This was put up by Frontline Books. Lots of pictures, as you can tell. It's going to be a very, there's not a lot of text here, guys. It's very big print. The type size is large. Pictures are large. We'll get through it real fast. But I think it's pretty, let me just skip down because we're running out of time here. Well, there's a lot of questions, right? As the Soviet troops fought their way ever closer to the Reich Chancellery in the final days of the Third Reich, deep underground in Hitler's bunker, fateful decisions were being made. Hitler and some of those closest to him resolved to commit suicide, whilst others sought to try and escape. But who did manage to slip past the Russian soldiers and reach freedom? How did they escape? And what routes did they take through the ruined streets of Berlin? Equally, what became of those who escaped? Where did they go? And what happened to those who did not get away? I know the Mossad, for decades, went after... just watch Munich, man. That was a great movie. Very appreciated, movie, but I really enjoyed that. Anyway, all of these questions are answered in this book. Following years of research in Berlin, the author has been able to identify the various groups and individuals that left the bunker and has traced the paths taken by those who escaped and those that perished. The final days in Hitler's bunker are revealed in atmospheric detail as the Red Army closed in and the inevitable end loomed menacingly nearer with the passing of every hour. Many notable persons, such as Bormann, Speer, Göring, and Hannah Reich, went to say a last farewell to the Fuhrer, while others, such as Goebbels, prepared themselves for suicide rather than being taken prisoner by the Russians. And also murdered their children. By using first-hand testimony from those who survived, photographs of the devastated German capital in 1945, as well as images of the various routes that the escapers followed through Berlin as they appear today, the author explores the last moments of the Third Reich in startling clarity. So, yeah, like modern-day pictures of Berlin, and kind of an interesting take. So there's that one. Okay, so this last book, this one is really heavy for some reason. I don't know if it's the paper stock is heavy, but it's a hefty book. But it's only, I won't say only, but it's about 460 pages. And I think this book its claim to it came out because we're looking at, they said this year. It came out in 2020. It says here in the back, but this year marks the 76th anniversary of liberation of Auschwitz, one of the most notorious of Germany's extermination camps during the war. This takes a different approach to the topic of the Holocaust. How the world allowed Hitler to proceed with the Holocaust. Tragedy at Evian by Tony Matthews. So I was intrigued just by the title alone. I wanted to hear more about that, about the world's role, its responsibility in looking the other way in many aspects, or not believing the heinous accounts coming out of Germany, the refusal, the denial. But anyway, let me read this to you real quick. In July 1938, the United States, Great Britain, and 30 other countries participated in a vital conference at Evian-les-Bains, France. I don't know why I said France. Evian-les-Bains, France. French dressing. French fries. Okay, that was from a movie. Better Off Dead. Sorry. To discuss the persecution and possible emigration of the European Jews, specifically those caught under the anvil of Nazi atrocities. However, most of those nations rejected the pleas then being made by the Jewish communities, thus condemning them to the Holocaust. There is no doubt that the Evian Conference was a critical turning point in world history. The disastrous outcome of the conference set the stage for the murder of 6 million people. Today, we live in a world defined by turmoil, with a disturbing rise of authoritarian governments and ultra-right-wing nationalism. The plight of mounting anti-Semitism, can we say that, please? Can we say that? The plight of refugees is once more powerfully affecting public attitudes towards those most in need. Now, on the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and the end of the Second World War, it's time to reflect on the past to ensure we never again make the same mistakes. Like saying that I can't go there. This whole Whoopi Goldberg thing is just ridiculous. White on white violence, that's what the Holocaust was? Come on. Yes, it was racial. Just, hello. This is the kind of stuff, the ignorance that just astounds me, and which tells me this shit could happen again, because people don't realize what the stupidity coming out of your mouth. Sorry, I get really kind of worked up about this. We're not really hearing too much about the rising wave of anti-Semitism. That kind of gets buried in the headlines, you know. Tragedy at Evian also shines a spotlight on some of the astonishing and courageous stories of heroic efforts of individuals and private organizations who, despite the decisions made at Evian, worked under extremely dangerous conditions, frequently giving their own lives to assist in the rescue of the Jewish people. So, I'm intrigued to read more about this conference. And let's see. They kind of have I wonder how this is formulated here. I'm just looking at the part 1 through part 3. It looks fascinating. I'm not sure who Tony Matthews is. Let's take a look here. He's a Queensland author, so he's Australian, who has dedicated almost his entire adult life to writing and researching Australian history. Okay. So he's written several other books, but kind of like espionage and stuff like this. I'm intrigued to see how he's going to break this down. He kind of goes by country and what their stance on it was. Big book. Big thoughts, big ideas, and yes, the Jews are a race, everybody. Can we just have that said? Oh, I'm sure I'll get flamed by it. You know what? That's what the delete button is for. Okay? So this is an interesting little book. We're going to end with this. Not that it's exactly a peaceful country by any means, but I don't know. This was kind of an interesting book. It's put out by Arabian Publishing. And you know, I just love picking up books by just little known publishing houses. I'm just so curious. This is Prince Turki Al Faisal Al Saud, director of the General Intelligence Directorate from 1977 to 2001 of Saudi Arabia. And the book is simply called The Afghanistan File. Again, put up by Arabian Publishing. But it was available from Casemate, and I said, well, let me take a look at this. And it's all about the Saudi-Afghan, their political relations. It has been blurbed by The Arabs of History by Eugene Rogan, which is a book I have, a very huge book. He has blurbed this book. But let me see what I can read here for you. And we're at 42 minutes, of course. The Afghanistan File, written by the former head of Saudi Arabian intelligence, tells the story of his department's involvement in Afghanistan from the time of the Soviet invasion in 1979 to 9/11/2001. It begins with the backing given by Saudi Arabia to the Mujahideen in their fight against the Soviet occupation, and moves on to the fruitless initiatives to broker peace among the Mujahideen factions after the Soviet withdrawal, the rise to power of the Taliban, and the shelter the Taliban gave to Osama bin Laden. Prince Turki's account details the Saudi attempts in the 1990s to bring its volunteers out of Afghanistan with checkered success, and his negotiations with the Taliban for the surrender of bin Laden. It also includes a number of declassified intelligence department documents. Juicy. Prince Turki explains that 21st century terrorism in the Middle East had its origins in Afghanistan, with bin Laden's deluded belief that he had helped defeat the Soviets. So it didn't rise through the school of Wahhabi in Saudi Arabia back in your country? I'm just wondering. There's no evidence that he ever fought them at all. Soon after 9/11, Saudi Arabia discovered that it had a homegrown terrorist problem involving some of the returnees from Afghanistan. Much of the huge change that has taken place in the kingdom since has stemmed from the campaign to tackle this. I will be reading this with a huge grain of salt stuck between my cheek and gum, as it were. Yeah, most of the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia. It's the extreme Wahhabi teachings from Saudi Arabia that emanated outward. Osama bin Laden was a product of that. He didn't just go to Afghanistan and suddenly become. Look, I've got my problems with Saudi Arabia. All right, that's why I wanted to read this. Read it right from the horse's mouth, and I'm going to be annotating this book heavily. And where I'll be like, yep, cover, lie, whatever. Come on now. Anyway, another huge, wonderful stack of books from Casemate and all the imprints that they distribute, and I'm so thankful. Let me know what you think of these books, guys, and what intrigues you. And if you want to know more about Casemate or anything else, or just let me know. I will have, again, I have more that have come in. They've got a lot of new releases coming out. So I've got great ideas coming up for military fiction review videos, and would like to take requests. Lots of good ideas coming to the History Shelf. I hope you will stay with me for the ride. I thank you for hanging out for 45 minutes. If you did. If you didn't, I totally understand. Either way, guys, that's it for now, and I will talk to you guys on the flip side.